Life isn't like that, and particularly isn't like that when you're dealing with these sort of chemicals, because the average person carries a cocktail of several hundred of these things around with them all of the time. None of them could have been there before recently. They're all completely novel, new to nature, as we say. And we have no way of characterising the toxicology, because you can't do that many experiments. In effect, we're all what's known in science as an N of 1 experiment, which means there's one subject in it. You know, you're a subject in your particular individual experiment with your genes and your particular collection of chemicals and other stresses and so forth. What happens to you? And every one of you is different in that respect. And the other thing you have to remember, of course, is that the highest dose is received early in life when you're most vulnerable. Now this graph looks at the daily intake of dioxins for an adult and for a baby, but then there's daily intake per kilogram body weight for an adult and for a baby, and you see there's a huge difference. And there's 4 reasons for that. 1, children are near the ground and they crawl around and touch things. 2, they have more surface area for their body weight. A child of 2 has about twice the surface area per body weight that I do, and a child of 3 months has 2.5 times. 3, their nervous and immune systems are still developing. And 4, they're going to be around for a lot longer for it to do them damage. There's also the dose issue, because we used to think that you could track it down from high dose up here, take it down the dose range, and you hit a threshold where below that there is no effect. Now, we found that wasn't true with lead in petrol, because they did studies that showed that the only good lead level was absolute 0. And what they found with some of the chemicals, this data is about bisphenol A, which, as you will see, has been in the news yet again yesterday, I think it was, because yet another group of scientists have said it's so dangerous it should be banned worldwide, but it's still in a lot of plastics that we all use every day. Right. Now, you go down below what is the assumed no effect threshold, and you see that there's another peak of effect in the parts per trillion range. Now, a lot of the figures that Charles was showing, these levels are in parts per trillion range, aren't they? Indeed. Now, what's the part per trillion? I sat down and I did the maths on this. I'm about 80 kilograms. I won't get complicated, but this thing is, to be strictly fair, this here you're talking about 100 trillionths. That spike, that peak is at, right? For me, 100 trillionths for me is 8 micrograms. Right? Now that's so small that you couldn't possibly see it. And what it actually means, if you get 1 drop of pure bisphenol A in this case, that will be enough to have this effect on 6,250 people. Okay, the effect in this case being a cancer effect. So, what does it mean for you? Well, look at the South Carolina website and the monitoring reports, and there's a whole list of chemicals. Now, I'm told that lots of people here have been complaining of noxious smells and suffering acute respiratory and other symptoms. Is that true?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, if you look at the list of chemicals here, it's a funny old mix, isn't it? It's, some of them are the technical names, some of them are trade names, some of them are very vague statements like substances which possess carcinogenic, mutagenic or teratogenic properties. I assume that there's some sort of regulatory thing that they're ticking the boxes of here, isn't there, But there is no doubt carefully worded so that, the truth is not fully apparent, is it? Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Really. You name it, it's there pretty much. So, for some of them, it's actually easy to find out something about it. What you take this one, 1,2-dichlorobenzene. Now, I don't know what it was like when you arrived, but when I first got here this evening, got out of the car, and the guys were saying, you said, you can smell it, can't you? I said, oh yes, that's chlorine, that's chlorinate. Right? And then somebody, I think it was you, who said, oh, that's the smell of the portaloos, and so forth. I said, it's a smell like portaloos, but what it is it's one of the dichlorobenzenes, because they're the things that go into the little white blocks that they put in the men's urinals and so forth. And also into mothballs and that kind of thing. You know? So, remember, when you're doing research, remember the term ATSDR. ATSDR is the American Agency for Toxic Substances and Disease Registry. And you can look up on this, and for a lot of them, you can download what they call the Tox Guide, which is a little 2-page thing. Here's the Tox Guide for dichlorobenzenes. And the first 2 bullets here, can you read that at all at the back? No. Probably not. Okay, I'll go quickly through it. So it says, very high levels of one particular dichlorobenzene in the air can cause headache, numbness, weakness of the limbs, and ataxia. High levels, so that's not even very high levels, can cause irritation to the eyes and respiratory tract. Then that's the acute symptoms. Then it goes on to the long-term ones. Inhalation and ingestion of high levels can cause liver damage, and also by swallowing it. Animals that ingested dichlorobenzenes had damage to the thyroid and pituitary glands. Adverse developmental effects were also observed in animals following inhalation or oral exposure. Now, remember, please, that that's one single chemical. And there isn't one single chemical on that side, according to the biomonitoring reports. There's a cocktail of them. Have a look at this one, vinyl chloride. Vinyl chloride goes into plastics. PVC is polyvinyl chloride. Okay? And Tox Guide says, acute high level can cause headache, dizziness, drowsiness, loss of consciousness. Extremely high levels can be lethal. Exposure of workers to high levels of vinyl chloride resulted in altered blood flow in the hand. So suddenly getting very, when your fingers go blue or whatever. Has anybody had that, by the way? Oh, 1, 2. Okay, there you go. See, it's all unpredictable these days, isn't it? You can't predict what's going to be. Long-term exposure of workers has resulted in alterations in the liver ranging from blah 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 to hepatocellular degeneration. You get serious liver damage from this. Workers who breathed it over many years have shown increased incidence of liver cancer and other cancers. The EPA considers vinyl chloride to be a known human carcinogen. Definitely a carcinogen.